Time for Q&As. Okay, everyone is familiar with the process. Do we have any in-house questions? Okay, do we have any online questions?
Sure. First question for Kumaran. Do you see the duplex sequencing as an acceptable method to determine the safety of NDSRI instead of TGR?
Could you please repeat the question, please?
Sure. Do you see the duplex sequencing as an acceptable method to determine the safety of NDSRI instead of TGR?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. So the NDSRIs, so if they don't use the CPCA-based acceptable intake limit, then the agency has proposed two alternate approaches. That is the surrogate analysis, the read-across analysis using surrogate candidate, and then the compound-specific toxicology data. They can submit the compound-specific toxicology data to determine the acceptable intake limit. But the rail guidance, which is published in August 2023, they provided some information about what to submit in the compound-specific toxicology data. So I think the question is that they should refer that the rail guidance for NDSRI. So they provided some information about the compound-specific data regarding that particular toxicology studies. What they are saying. Actually, I am a CMC reviewer. This is a farm tox question, so it's out of scope of the CMC, out of scope of my knowledge. So I think at least to get some preliminary information, they should refer that rail guidance. It has some information about the compound-specific toxicology data, what to submit, what not to submit.
Thank you. First question in-house.
This is for Asif Rasheed. For the acceptable leachable of the ophthalmic drug product, it is recommended to have a labeling also included in the acceptable leachable study. So if a product is using package insert, which is not directly like it is on the cap of the bottle, do we need to include that in the study too?
So in ideality, you try to mimic as close to the commercial packaging as possible, right? I understand that maybe at the time of development, you may not have developed the entire tertiary packaging system, but there are ways to circumvent around. And the package insert, I mean, it's part of the label, right? So I would say that yes, it should be part of the tertiary packaging system, which should be put in place for leachable study.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And our second in-house question, please.
Good day. Thank you again for all your presentations. So can the agency comment on how successful the comparability protocol has been? For example, how many have been approved versus submitted? And have you seen success in reducing regulatory burden?
You can turn on the mic, please. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been very successful. It cuts the timeline for submission. As to the numbers that have been approved, there is, I would refer that to, there is a comparability protocol team. I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I can't tell. But as far as I can tell, it's been very good. And it actually gives more information to the FDA when it comes to the approval process for post-approval changes.
Thank you.
Question, but I'll wait.
Okay, you stay right there then.
Yeah.
Question from online, please.
Another question for David. Will the FDA publish a guidance for industry for post-approval changes for complex generics in the near future, as the current guidances may not be applicable to these specific complex drug products?
For questions about guidance, I would refer you to the, there's a website on the FDA, that talks about guidances that are in line to be released. So I wouldn't be able to give you a specific answer as to, but I would also use this opportunity to say that if you have any questions or if you have any doubts with the submission for these complex generic products, controlled correspondences are your friends. You can submit controlled correspondences and then you receive confirmation from the FDA on what to submit or the filing category that is needed.
Thank you. And just for informational purposes, every year for the past 4 years or so, we've been holding a complex generics 2-day conference in September. And we will be working on doing one this year as well. If you go to SBIA website, business cards over there, you will see all the webcasts from the past few years of complex generic drugs. It's called Advancing Generic Drug Development in the past few years. So please take advantage of that wealth of resources that we do have already available. Thank you. Question in-house, please.
Hello again. This is kind of related to the last question, but a little more specific. Does FDA intend to update the changes guidance or any of them to address, for example, the question that you posed several times of number of batches and things such as that, which are somewhat addressed in SUPAC, but obviously that's a very old guidance.
As I already said, guidance has to do with, I think, policy and then OPQA, I think. So I wouldn't, but what I would say as a CMC reviewer and for post-approval changes is that control correspondences with such questions are the best way to go. And then based on FDA's current thinking, we respond to those. It actually even helps to gather more information if there's any update as to what to put in and then the way forward. So again, I wouldn't be able to give you a specific answer, but control correspondence are the way to go. Such question.
Thank you. Do we have a second question in-house?
So this is a in general question. I think it's a good panel for impurity questions. So I notice a lot of times you'll see ICH guideline when you calculate the limit is one thing and USP is another. And then you go to the FDA's guidance for lack of proper justification for impurities, and one of the footnotes in there, you have to use the worst case, right? If it's ICH or USP, right? So I'm just wondering, is the FDA planning on having some sort of meetings or correlation with the USP to try to align the specifications with the compendia? So there's not inconsistencies, because I can imagine that it would reduce the number of post-approval supplements. Just a thought.
I can start and then my colleagues can chime in. This is a great question. And unfortunately, I'm not able to answer it right now. So I'll just leave it at that.
No more comments?
So the USPS, is a gold standard for, all these, limits for all these impurities. So of course, that is the a minimum requirement, when you want to control some impurities. But also, if there is some specific issues are there on the, on the impurities, then we would follow the, ICH guidelines. For example, any any unspecified impurities, the ICH guideline says that it is 0.10%. So we just follow that limit as a standard impurity control for the any unspecified impurities. So of course the USP also we take into consideration, but when it comes to controlling certain specific impurities, we also take into consideration of ICH guidance too.
Thank you. Let's take a question online, please.
Question for Asif. For particulate matter for suspensions, you mentioned to check for particle size distribution changes over stability. Since the product inherently contains particles, are we exempt from testing for visible particulates in the drug product as a release testing?
So I would not say that applicants are exempt. USP Chapter 790 and then the Journal Chapter 1790 provides certain strategies for those type of dosage forms to test for particulate matter. The example that I provided in my presentation is for intrinsic particulate matter. That means how the interaction of the particles, the EPI interacting with the environment, the surrounding, and the container closure system, and if that indicates any product instability. For extrinsic particulate matter, I think USP 1790 has certain recommendations. And if there are compelling challenges to fulfill particulate matter requirement, and so that could be a good question for a control correspondence for us to see beforehand. Thank you.
In-house question, please.
This question is for David. When it comes to like post-approval change management control protocols, especially for multiple products, which are using like similar container closures, like we're using the same stopper, can there be like a tool where we can use like a group submission instead of making like separate submissions for each of the products?
Yes, group submissions are allowed in, and it has to be stated as long as your comparability protocol is approved. You can state as part of those the submission that if this is approved, maybe it's going to be a lower filing category for some products. As long as your test and every conditions that you specify in the comparability protocols are reviewed and approved, then a group submission can be done. There are instances where group submissions have been done for a lot of, let's say for like stoppers or the same container closure for the other products.
Okay, but that has to be submitted through like a normal ECDD, not like to CDER next gen or something.
Can you repeat what you said?
That can only be submitted through like normal ESG gateway, not through like a CDER next gen portal, right?
Yes. Yeah, group submissions can be made through the ECTD.
Okay, thank you.
All righty, thank you. Online question, please.
Question for Kumaran. Does the API manufacturer need to submit risk assessment documents to the agency?
Actually, they don't have to submit the risk assessment documents to the, in the DMF submission, but it should be available whenever it is needed. It should be available at the site for the evaluation.
Next online question, please. Thank you.
Another question for Asif. For a freeze-thaw study, if the RLD label doesn't mention do not freeze, but the generic product fails any CQA on a 3 freeze-thaw cycle, but okay for 1 or 2 cycle, does the generic product label need any special note? Is that acceptable, or do we need to test the RLD and show that the RLD has the same issues?
I think that's a little bit of a specific question. Without knowing the details and the data for that particular product, it would be a little difficult to answer. So my recommendation again, if the questioner has a specific case in mind, so that could be submitted via control correspondence, because that needs to be looked at what's going on in terms of product quality, and if the labeling has to mention certain instruction in terms of do not freeze, for example. So that would be a deviation from the RLD labeling. So that's a multi-pronged question, and I think it is best to be addressed via control.
Thank you.
Can I also address the last question about the group
Sure.
submission for comparability
Sure.
protocol?
Please
I would also like to state that, yes, group submissions can be, it can be submitted to the FDA, but it has to be approved as a group submission before it can continue. And as usual, one of the conditions for group submissions to be accepted or approved is that the same piece of information should be submitted for all the groups involved. So once that is met, yes, you can propose a group submission, and then once it's approved by the FDA, it can be reviewed as such. Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. I think that particular inquirer is out of the room, but thank you for that answer. It will be on record. Thank you. Online question, please.
Okay, another question for David. Can an applicant submit a controlled correspondence to seek clarity on post-approval change data requirements while the original ANDA is still under review?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yes. Sorry.
Let's wait 1 second while the drilling stops. Not exactly the music we're looking for. Okay, let's try again, please.
Okay. Can an applicant submit a controlled correspondence to seek clarity on post-approval change data while change data while the original ANDA is still under review?
Did you hear the entire thing?
Yes, I did. And the answer is yes. But as part of the submission for the controlled correspondence, the applicant has to state that the submission is currently under review. And then you state the changes that or the clarification that you are seeking.
Thank you. Okay, next question,
One
please.
more online question. Okay, for Asif, does your presentation contents apply to OTIC preparation also?
Could you please repeat?
Does your presentation contents apply to OTIC preparation also?
OTIC, yeah.
So yeah, in general, there are similarities between OTIC and ophthalmic. This particular guidance and my presentation is specifically for topical ophthalmics. So it should be taken as only for topical ophthalmics.
Thank you. Any more online?
Yeah, one more question for David.
If you could try to
Sure.
speak a little louder than the drill, we'll be okay.
When multiple related changes have different recommended reporting categories, should the submission adhere to the most restrictive category as suggested by CDER?
The answer is yes. It's the most restrictive filing category that carries the day at the end of the day for multiple related changes.
Thank you. How about you? Any more online questions? No? Any in-house questions? Going once, twice. Okay, let's thank our panelists and our speakers.